But when it comes to Tobago, their election is on Monday, and that's the THA election. And I'll be speaking in a short with Dr. Faith Byisrael, who is the PDP candidate for Belgarden and Goodwood in Tobago. My second guest, it is Megan C. Morrison, who is the PDP candidate for Bacolet and Mount St. George electoral district in Tobago as well. And I have them on the line, on Zoom rather. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, thank you for joining us this morning. All right,
It's
so let me start with you,
here.
Dr. Faith Byisrael. You're the candidate for Belgarden Goodwood in Tobago. What do you just say is the most pressing issue that you have heard from the people in your walkabout?
Well, the thing that I hear all the time, and it's really a pleasure being here. Thank you so much for having us. The thing that I hear all the time is that people want to be represented. They want to ensure that when they elect an official, that official actually is on the ground with them, and that official is representing their wants and their needs, because that is why they put us there. So they continually tell us, when you get there, don't forget who put you there. Don't forget that we put you there to help our lives get better, and that is what we plan to do.
And what would you do differently from, the representative who would have held the seat before this period?
Well, the representative who held the seat before this period has been MIA for the entire last season, and I have actually been the de facto representative because I contested the election in 2017 and lost by a very slim margin, by 5 votes, which is a clarion call really to everyone to let you know that every single vote counts. And I plan to actually act on behalf of the people. I plan to ensure that we bring back some of the economic needs that are required on the island, generally on the island and specifically in my area. I also plan to work with all of the institutions, the youth institutions, the faith-based institutions, the sporting institutions, to ensure that holistic development actually happens, and not just the building of structures and so forth, but we definitely need the human development that has been lacking for the last 20 years or so.
Megan Morrison, you're the candidate for Bacolet Mount St. George. What would you do differently when it comes to your electoral district?
Firstly, I would say good morning to Bacolet Mount St. George. My electoral district is very dynamic. We have Bacolet, we have Bagatelle, we have Frenchfield, we have Hope, we have John Dial, and then Mount St. George, right? So, and as I concur with Dr. Faye, the biggest challenge they have currently is the lack of representation. And I intend to do very differently. I've always been amongst my people, and this will be no different, right? They will not see me every 4 years as an election turn around. No, I intend to be very, very different. I intend to be among them as I am now currently. And that's basically what they need, apart from all the infrastructural development and the lack of maintenance of drainage and roads. Simple things that would change their life have been sorely lacking over the years. So I intend to do differently.
Now, a common thread amongst many of the candidates, it's, a lot of infrastructure needs to be improved. Youth unemployment and underemployment is an issue, as well as some other factors. When it comes to the challenges posed by COVID-19, how do you intend on tackling that for your electoral district?
Sorry, repeat?
When it comes to the challenges posed, the added challenges, aside from the common conversations I've been having with the various candidates of youth underemployment and unemployment, of the need for infrastructural improvement and such, there are additional challenges that are posed because of the pandemic. How do you intend on meeting with those challenges?
Well, the pandemic has just driven us into another, just to do things differently. For example, a lot of the training and stuff that would have been hands-on, we can now do them via Zoom. Zoom has become our life these days. So we just a better use of the technology in terms of reaching the people, right? For example, training sessions and all those that would normally be one-on-one can now be done via the internet. But I don't think the COVID so much, we just have to be more careful. and in the way we do things. It wouldn't stop infrastructural development. We'll just have to think differently on how we will pursue these aspirations in order to meet the needs of the people.
Dr. Byisrael, another thing that has been mentioned in previous conversations is that the youth, they are in need of direction and mentorship. It's not that there aren't programs available for the youth to participate in and to develop their skills and education and whatnot, but a lot of them, they either don't have the information or they maybe don't have access to the information to get themselves involved in some of these programs. How do you intend on remedying something like that?
Well, firstly, we have to meet the youths where they are. Not everyone will want to come into a community center or want to come. We have met them on the blocks while campaigning, on the block, on the alleyways, and so on. So I think we need to very much start there to get them to buy into what we are offering. That's the first thing, because the mindset, they need to be motivated to do differently. And I think we as a people need to meet them where they are, right? So if they're on the block, we need to meet them there, encourage them, tell them our life stories, let them be one with us in order for them to trust us enough to want to pursue these programs.
Dr. Faith Byisrael, let me jump to you now. One of the challenges that, across the board, it's the access to the devices for children and students to actually be able to get their classes online and things like that. There's still a great sector of society that they don't have the means by which to access this. How do you intend to remedy that problem for your electoral district of Bellegarde-Goodwood?
Well, I would speak about it as it relates to the entire island. The island of Tobago is 116 square miles, which, it's relatively small. It's a dot on the map, really. So one of the things that we are looking at is to ensure that within the short to medium term, have Wi-Fi connected areas. So basically hotspot areas throughout the island, so that if an individual does not have access at their home, we know that there are spaces that they can go, open spaces that are available to have that done. We have actually personally been purchasing devices and giving it to our constituents, giving it to the schools, giving it to the children who are there. But I think what we need to look at is using the resources of the Tobago House of Assembly in a more meaningful way. Because one of the things we've recognized, and particularly when you look at, for example, the Auditor General report that just came out, that the Tobago House of Assembly has actually had access to billions of dollars that we have been mismanaging and we have just not been using wisely. And the Progressive Democratic Patriots, it's committing to using the resources that we have wisely to ensure that we meet the needs of all of our citizens, which includes the children who may need devices. So we are looking at it more holistically. And can I just plug in, as it goes back to the COVID-19 and the changes that we need to make as it relates to COVID-19, one of the things that we are pushing is to actually digitize the functioning of the Tobago House of Assembly, because we've recognized now that the paper thing that we've been doing, the in-person thing that we've been doing is not working, and that we could actually do things differently and digitize the Tobago House of Assembly to ensure that the functions that are within the THA are accessible via the internet and so forth.
Wonderful. I want to thank you both for your time this morning. Dr. Faith Byisrael, you are the candidate for Bellegarde-Goodwood. I want to thank you as well, Megan Morrison, PDP candidate for Bacalet, Mount St. George in Tobago. All the best coming up on Monday for the election.